Hello and welcome to the Close to Him Ministries Daily Spiritual Food. I am very delighted that you are here once again to feed your soul with the spiritual word of God. And today's spiritual food is taken from John chapter 7 verse 23. If a man receives circumcision on the Sabbath so that the law of Moses should not be broken, are you angry with me because I made a man completely well on the Sabbath? My dear brothers and sisters, in today's spiritual food, I want us to turn our hearts and minds to a thought-provoking statement made by Jesus in John chapter 7, verse 23, as I read. In this verse, Jesus confronted the Pharisees, or the religious leaders of his time, and highlighted the inconsistencies in their understanding of the law and their rigid adherence to tradition. As we learned yesterday, the context of this ongoing conversation between Jesus Christ and the Jewish leaders of his time was the fact that Jesus healed a man on the Sabbath day. The Sabbath law was given to the Israelites as part of the covenant God made with the people of Israel as they moved from Egypt and they got to a place called Mount Sinai. That was where the law was given to the Israelites, and the law included the Sabbath. And the Sabbath was actually the sign of the very covenant God made with the Israelites, as we see in Exodus chapter 31, verse 14 to 17. And I would like to read there to show you the details of that law. In Exodus chapter 31, verse 14 to 17, Moses wrote and said, "You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. For whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed." So from here, it is clear that the Sabbath was the sign of the covenant between the Israelites and God. And on the Sabbath day, the Israelites were not supposed to do any work. In fact, their animals were not supposed to work on that day. Their visitors were also not supposed to work. There was supposed to be no work on that day. On the other hand, the law of circumcision, which was given to Abraham in Genesis chapter 17, which later became part of the Hebrews or Jews, also suggested that every male child was supposed to be circumcised on the 8th day after his birth. And this was a law that the Jews were obeying. So if a male child was born on Friday, it means that he was due for circumcision on the Saturday, which was a Sabbath. And the Jews were circumcising on the Sabbath day because they were obeying the law of circumcision. However, immediately Jesus Christ healed the cripple on the Sabbath, they were angry at him for doing such a thing. So basically what Jesus was telling them was that if healing, which is an act of love, mercy and compassion, was work on the Sabbath day that violates the Sabbath, then why do the Jews also perform circumcision on the Sabbath day and assume that that does not break the law of Sabbath or the law of Moses? The Jews didn't understand the very essence for which the law was given. So Jesus was asking them, why then do you circumcise on the Sabbath? If healing is a work on the Sabbath day and violates the law of Sabbath, he was showing them how inconsistent they were in obeying the law of Moses. The Jews rejected the very essence of why the law was given. The law, including the Sabbath, was given so that it will bring the Jews, the Israelites, to Christ. It was supposed to serve as a schoolmaster to them. And as they were obeying the law, they were also to let mercy, love, and compassion lead them. They were all part of the law. So they were supposed to obey both. As they obey the Sabbath, they were supposed to show love. As they pay their tithe, they were supposed to show grace and show compassion and show mercy. These were part of the law. Do you remember the question Jesus asked in Luke chapter 14 verse 5? Well, Jesus healed a man with dropsy. And he asked this question after that healing, that which of you, having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit, will not immediately pull him out on the Sabbath day? So Jesus was teaching the Jews to let love, mercy, and compassion lead in everything they do. As they observed the law, they were supposed to also embody the love of God and spread it on people. That is what Jesus was teaching the Jews. So, what are some of the lessons from this particular verse that we are talking about to Christians for us today? Well, the simple lesson is like what I said yesterday. Let love, let mercy, and let compassion lead in everything. You see, in the church, sometimes when we are having lessons on giving or offertory or collection, some people tend to ask this question. It's a hypothetical question, but they normally ask this way. Assuming I was going to church on a Sunday, I have only $100 on me, which is my giving or my collection to God on that day. And I met a beggar on the way who asked for me for help because he was hungry. So he needed $100 to feed himself, or he was sick. So he needed $100 to buy drugs from himself. Should I give the money to him? Well, I know that some preachers and brothers or brethren in the church might disagree with the answer I am going to give. But that is the answer I will give. The simple answer is you have to give to the person. If indeed the person is in need, you know from your heart that this person is indeed in need. And if you don't give the money to him, the person might die out of hunger. Why don't you give the money to him? Why do you have to say that, well, this is my giving to God, so I cannot give it to the person? Well, let me reverse the question and ask you this question. What if you are preparing to come to church or to go to church on a Sunday and you receive a call from your relative, your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister, your husband or your wife, your mother or your father, that they were sick and had been admitted at the hospital, and before the doctor could work on them, they had to pay $100. And the only money you have on you is $100. And that is what you have planned to give to God on that Sunday as your collection or offertory. What are you going to do? Are you going to go to church and give that money to God and leave that relative of yours to die? Assuming if you are not able to send that money to the person is going to die out of his sickness. Are you going to ignore the person and go to church and give that money to God? Then what is the essence of the love of God in you? Where is the love of God in you? What is the essence of you going to church to worship God on that day? We should let love lead in every situation. Remember what Matthew wrote in Matthew chapter 25 verse 40? He said, "Inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me." As we offer benevolence, as we offer help, as we offer love and compassion on those people around us, we are doing it for God. And this analogy is not to say that you are not supposed to give to God. No, that is not what I'm teaching or saying over here. Remember, giving is a command from God to Christians. Every first of the week, Sunday, we are supposed to give for the development of the church. So we have to give. But what I'm saying is that We should let love lead in every situation. So even if you're not able to give on that particular day to God, but you were able to save somebody's life, it's a great deed that you have done to God. But remember that you also own God's giving on the next Sunday. So you have to prepare to give double on the next Sunday. The point is, in every situation, let us let love lead. The Jews were quick to judge Jesus Christ because he had healed on the Sabbath, an act of compassion that he showed. They were not happy. They were angry at Jesus for doing that. But that's not what we are supposed to do as Christians. My dear brothers and sisters, as we conclude today's spiritual food, let us not be like the Jews who were quick to obey the law by performing circumcision, even on the Sabbath, but were far from sharing and showing love, mercy, and compassion, which were part of God's law, like I have said. Let us love in all aspects of our lives to fulfill God's commandments. Beloved, let love lead, for God is love. Thank you for feeding your soul with today's spiritual food. God richly bless you, and I hope to once again see you tomorrow, God willing, for another edifying and nourishing food.